Hello friends, it's Taji here, and this is my first ever commentary video on this channel, where I will be discussing pronoun rates and survival in general in this game. As you can tell by the name of this video, even though you probably can't. Because you're like, thinking that, what kind of a title is this, right? Like, don't be a slave to supporters, what does it mean, right? Hey, you're nobody's slave, obviously. But it's more of a metaphor, discussing and talking about how a lot of people are heavily relying on supporters in their party and about the endgame situation right now. So I'd just like to say this. You can clear the raid without having a chunk in your party. You can clear the raid without having any red damage buffers in your party. It is not impossible. Like, it is very possible actually. But it's not convenient. And I can understand that as a person who technically did class change from CS to CU. Firstly, because of the atomic shield, right? And I mean, I could have class changed back, but I decided to class change my aura as I've been enjoying CU for some time now. And I'd like to test trial until the next class change, or I'll go back to CS. But here's the thing. There are actually ways how you can improve your survivability in this game. In general, not just in pruinaum rates, but also Varnimir for people who have owls and are struggling to like survive even. Like, I mean, it's a fair point. These red damage buffers, debuffers, whatever, are very good because they allow you to do things that you would normally not be able to do. You would normally not be able to deal the consistent damage you're dealing in pruinaum rates, for example, on lasers, on whatever else, right? It's very, very convenient. But not everyone can like afford to have these supporters in their parties, and it's really difficult to find the good supporters of all things. Like people who know what they're exactly doing, where are they standing, no mechanics, whatever else. And this is why I'd like to like encourage people to not be afraid to run with like only one red damage support, or needing to have chunk in their party, or you get what I mean, right? This is why is the name called Don't Be a Slave to the Supporters, because you're basically enslaving yourself to the supporters, right? You are reliant on them, and that's not good. You have to learn how to not be reliant on the supporters. And I'd like to give you some tips and ways on how to improve your defensive stats and survive in the new raids and Varnimir raids and pruinaum in general, whatever else in this game is that is difficult for you to survive, right? So I have a feeling it's gonna be a one-take video, but that should be fine. I have like no experience with editing videos. Once I do, I will probably like try to make something better. I will also be using terms that you might be not familiar with if you have never seen the pruinaum raid, Varnimir raid. Not sure how far you're in the end game, like the person who's watching. So make sure to check the description. I will put links to the guides, to basically everything else related to the pruinaum region, because you might want to be familiar with the terms so we understand what I'm talking about. And yeah, I think let's get straight into talking about the tips, I guess, even though some of them might be more obvious and some that might not be, you know, as obvious. But so the first thing that I would like to say is to have a great understanding of the dungeon. This is mostly a thing that comes with experience. Like, you come to pruinaum the first time, right, the raid 15.5, and you confuse what you're doing. You don't know where you're sending, where should you attack, what do the attacks do, which is completely fine. A lot comes with experience of running and like doing it all the time. However, it is very recommended to not really go for a blind run, as in, hey, I'm just gonna go, like no mechanics, nothing, I'm just going there blindly. This would be fine if your whole party probably is completely blindly running, but if you're running with people who are more experienced, this might be very inconvenient because you can actually scrub the whole party by doing certain things that you shouldn't be doing, and that's not good. And it should be pretty obvious to do the first thing as to be watching videos, right? Like the guides or reading about it, wherever else you want, asking questions. But some people don't do it, so that's what I'm talking about as this first thing, because it's pretty important, actually very important. A second thing I would like to talk about people who have problems surviving or they're dying, right? It's time to start figuring out the reasons why you're dying, right? Be it having CC in the party or not, you should not rely on the CC, whatever else the party have. You should watch out your HP, make sure you're doing everything correctly. If you're not, then just, let's say you're dying to bombs, for example, right? On the floor in 15.5. So what you do is you try to avoid them. You don't, it's sometimes very difficult to avoid them, I know. But you need to realize that there are times when CC's Wonderwall is not activated and you could actually die if you don't watch out your HP even. It's important to understand why are you dying in the first place, because if you don't know why you're dying, then you will keep dying whether you have CC or not. It doesn't really matter. Also, some CCs or Blue Hands, Radiant Souls, CUs, whatever else, including me maybe, don't really have the best idea of how to properly support with their class. I mean, you still have CCs who don't know how to use Iron Howling in 12.7. I mean, it's okay. If you're a new player, then no one's really expecting you to know what you're doing, like, with the skills. Even though, yeah, it's pretty hard, to be honest. And the raids are still fairly new, so it's understandable that not everyone had the opportunity to clear. And if you do have it, and you keep dying, figure out why are you dying, discuss it with your people, and try to find a way to not die, simply, without having to rely on others. The third thing that I should be mentioning, as the first actually, is improving your defensive stats. And this is probably the longest part, as there's like a lot of things that you can do in order to keep yourself alive, to be honest. A lot depends on your, you see, defensive stats. The CP doesn't really matter, doesn't really tell you anything. Damage reduction, damage decrease for boss monsters, adaptation, the Holy Trinity that you're looking for. Oh, also HP, my bad. Make HP as a 4-1. Are the stats you'd be looking for survival. And there are some pretty good ways to get these stats, actually. The biggest source of your damage reduction is the artifact armor. Please buy it, for the love of God. It's so cheap and so good, and you'll have it for a long time, because it's not something you're going to replace immediately. Please get it, really. It's amazing. The artifact armor is the main source, obviously. You have the Elsword party collection. I think it was FP. No, it wasn't FP. Oh, it was the Diagalion, right, with the damage reduction, and Centurion with damage dealt by boss monsters -5. Pretty good, to be honest. Like, why not? It's just 60 mil per character, which might seem like a lot, and there's been also a lot of people complaining that this is really expensive. Right now, it probably is because of the ED things and everything, primarily caused by this. But I mean, it's worth it. It's totally worth it, because you're paying 60 mil per character, and every character you register has it. With this, there's also synergy, which if you're looking for the HP adaptation, you can have it for 30 million a week. But with synergy, you mostly just want to go for the resurrection synergy, which includes having Blue Hand, Radiant Soul, and No Imperator, Bloody Queen, because it allows you to be more flexible with titles. If you are a supporter, this doesn't matter, and if you're like have this as a supporter, you might as well as go Seal of Time synergy. Which is all through job paths here, and it's pretty good. It's going to get buffed, and honestly I love it. It can save you a lot of time, and also lives, obviously. gear is important. Rigor gear, I mean, very, very important to have to survive. It's not impossible to survive with Elwerd gear, because I have friends and I also survive in 55 in my aura, who has like no defensive stat whatsoever. But having rigor gear is still important for survival, doesn't matter. And I'm running Crimson. Most people are running Crimson. Having Crimson is very good because of the damage, but because of the polarize, you're basically somewhat crippling yourself in a way. And if you have troubles, really just very, very troubled, as in for surviving, you might as well as get Cerulean or Sage. It is not very recommended because Crimson is the most consistent set and best for damage, probably. Cerulean could theoretically be also very good for certain classes, and Sage is the best one-on-one unless you have someone else who has Sage, and with raids it's very likely that someone else will have Sage, unless you're running in a specific party where no one does. Yeah, I would still recommend you going Cerulean, but taking off the polarize from this would really help you being tankier. Guild skill also has the damage, boss damaging decrease. It's very small amount, it's not too much, but if you can have it, might as well have it, right? As for the polarize and ERP in general, I would suggest you to invest into adaptation and into... If you are struggling so much, actually not even... The damage decrease from boss monsters, here's the thing, you can get very decent amount just by socketing the pursuit stones, right, from heroics, and getting the perfect sockets might be difficult, but it's definitely worth it. Getting 2.5 and 2.5 armors and 5 on weapons, very good. If you can't do it, do it. I would probably still not waste the points there because it's not worth it. You can also take off polarize of your ERP, but remember your damage will go not so well. Not very recommended. Up to you, whatever you do. About accessories, this is pretty much the setup you might want to use. Using Code of Honor if you're doing damage, and ECS, which I don't have because I sold one. And what else is there? Nightmare Blindfold can be replaced by Mark of Alliance if you don't care about the MP cost and the attack speeds reduction. Using titles, having Forging Ace Fruit can be good if you don't have rest energy, right? Obviously. Yeah, I've covered quite a lot, but having actually for the seasonal buff. Right now, this Lapis is the seasonal Iceburner, right? It's immensely good, especially if you're struggling with pots. Like, it's amazing, I'll be honest with you. Especially when you're getting orbed, it's really good. 7 World's Weapon, take off if you're struggling because 5% polarize can still cripple you. You can like get a specific weapon for damage reduction or boss damage decrease if you want to, really. It's just up to you, honestly. Whether you are able to like survive with it or not. And yeah, I think that's about it for the gear. And I'm pretty sure I forgot about something because there's like so many things to cover, to be honest. You can improve like other stuff too. And basically, yeah, the getting unique LPI might help too for HP. Well, that's about it from the gear side. How about the consummable, right? Because that's one of the things that could be useful, you know? Running consumables with 100% HP, please do it all the time for sure. Amazing thing to do. Auto pet consumption, very cheap, convenient, amazing, saves you a lot. Please buy it, it's cheap. If not, then you can also do this this dungeon. Costs 20 bracelets to get one for 30 days. No big deal, but hey, I mean, it's still cheap. Just buy it. What are you doing? It's very simple. Just drag down the HP threshold you want the pod to trigger at, pod that you put here. Obviously put HP pod in HP slot. I mean, the MP slot you can put whatever, I guess. You could technically put the HP pod there, but I don't need it. I don't think it's a good idea to do so. In my opinion, it doesn't really help me much, so yeah. There's various pods, I guess. Honey waffles is one of the great things that you can get from your guild foods. Just like getting from star potatoes and one more ingredient, which I always forget about for some kind of reason. Do craft them, they are very convenient. Use them with care as well, because you've got to plant more if you want them, obviously. Some people have unlimited food, but if you don't, then just you know, use them whenever you feel like there's gonna be something that could potentially hurt you. For example, the lasers in second phase of phase 3, or lasers in the last phase of 15.6. So there's that, and stone apples, giant stone apples to be exact. Giant stone apples are amazingly expensive too, because they cost like 300k, 400k each. It's very damn expensive. You can craft them by being an alchemist and just doing PvP, you know, do PvP and craft the alchemist stuff. I mean, that's fine, you can do it, but where do you use them actually? Because some people just spam them and like, hey, just use them anytime. Please don't. It's very convenient to have them. They increase your defense, they give you jump speed, as you can read, super armor state, which is all fine, but like, they're expensive. Use them with care. The best places where you could probably use them, 15.5 is something where you really don't, but if you happen to do it, phase 2, during the tornadoes, if you still have issues avoiding these, then this is great, because you won't get knocked down. Or if you have CC or Sand, it doesn't matter, but otherwise, like, you might want to use them just in case. If you're more experienced, you won't need them anymore in this phase, but for beginners, you might want to do that. Third phase, phase 2 with lasers. That's a phase where most people keep dying. It's very obnoxious and it's easy to die if you're not paying attention to your HP, or you have like no BL and CC whatsoever, whatever else. Yeah, use them there if you're struggling. That's what I would tell you. For me, it helps me a lot, to be honest, on my alt, so it's great. However, there's a catch in phase 3 if you happen to use it there for some kind of reason. You could actually use it there still. Because if you have no CC or Scent and no one is pushing the robots, and you are standing on the middle platform and you're avoiding the bombardment, you could get hit by the robot and get pushed, hit by a mine, and then you die. But with super armor you want. However, because this thing makes you bigger, you will become more prone to attacks and you will die if you don't make yourself smaller by sitting. Obviously not like havent sit, basically the base sit. I did have like this one, yeah, like most base sits are okay, but not all classes have like good enough base sits. There's some others just in case you were dying. Shouldn't be happening, but you never know. Like, Iron is pretty tall from what I know. Could be dangerous. Hot spring motion, pretty good, it's cheap. Basically free. Troublemaker if you have it. Yeah, just try to play around with it, depends on your class a lot. Yeah, in 15.6, using these apples is very convenient in phase 2 because you're running from side to side. And in phase 3, maybe with lasers if you're really afraid of getting hit that much. I would not use it below like 150 bars because the bigger you are, again, the more prone you become to the attacks. You're not gonna die, but you can take hits which you could potentially avoid, and that's something that you should keep in mind. I don't think I have more things to say about this. Like, I don't think the raids are very difficult. They are difficult for everyone once you're starting out, obviously, because you're new to this. Everyone who is new to the raids, is struggling and trying to do their best, which is fair. I am not telling you to run without CC, Sand, Bluehead, Raz, CU, Bad Paradox, whatever else comes to your mind as a supporter for red damage or survival. I'm just saying that sometimes it's good to get out of the comfort zone and not rely on these like supporters, because the people can be not experienced with the classes and could get you killed if you don't have super armor for 1 second, and you know, then you just like complain and things. It's fine, don't rely on it. As long as you're not relying on it, you'll be fine. You will see yourself that this is probably much better than just hoping that the CC will use Wonderwall or Sand will use their tactical field. Really just, yeah. I highly suggest you to focus on your own survival without these classes. Thank you guys for watching my video, and hopefully it helped you at least a bit, understanding some things, and then you will try and do better in your raids. And yeah, good luck to everyone who's trying to clear 15-6. It's a long ride, will take lots of practice, but you can do it at the end of the day. Anyone can do it, so don't worry too much. And see you guys in the next video.